The Cheeseboy 628 Show, starring Cheeseboy 628.
Hey YouTube, what's going on? This is Cheeseboy628 here today giving you another Theory Thursday, and this week's was bound to happen eventually. Thank you to Devon for asking for Clefable! Okay, anyway, back to being professional. Okay, so what do I think about Clefable? Well, I believe that Clefable actually deserves to be in UU. Trust me, I love Clefable, obviously, but I've gotta say it's a bit high in placement right now in OU. But it was RU in 5th gen, so what makes it even have a reason to even go up in tiers this gen? Well, let's check out its stats first. Now, speaking of stats, my first reason that Clefable should be UU this gen is because of its stats, plus its change of typing thanks to 6th gen just giving it a ton of buffs. It went from normal typing to fairy typing, which just completely changes Clefable's defensive capabilities. Being a normal type in 5th gen and lower, it was not able to take CCs whatsoever, which are super popular among many top OU threats. Another great thing about fairy typing is that it has a complete immunity to dragon, so therefore dragons that are especially choiced are going to have to reconsider whether they really want to go for a Draco or Outrage with the possibility of a Clefable coming in on the switch. Now granted, Clefable does resist close combat now, but it does gain 2 weaknesses being Poison and Steel, and although they weren't very popular in 5th gen, they're starting to become more popular now due to the increase of fairies of course in 6th gen. Now regarding Clefable's stats, Clefable's stats are actually pretty nice for its purpose because it's always going to be a bulky wall or a bulky sweeper. Clefable has a very nice base 95 HP along with a very nice base 90 special defense stat with a decent 73 defense stat, which base 80 defenses are considered decent this gen, so 73 isn't awful, but it's not able to take a ton of hits on the physical side. Like a couple of other pokes from previous gens, Clefable did get a bit of a stat buff, being its special attack boosted from 85 to 95, which can definitely be considered decent. Now, unfortunately, it has a base 60 speed stat, which is definitely subpar, but nonetheless, its overall stats are pretty nice. Now, Clefable also has a good move pool and ability. First, talking about its ability, Magic Guard. Magic Guard is one of the best abilities in the game because not only is it immune to hazards, but it's immune to weather, it doesn't take life orb recoil, and it's immune to any status that actually causes residual damage. So therefore, if you're trying to sweep, you don't need to rest to heal off a status like Crocoon, which is the Rest, Sleep, Talk, Calm Mind, Scald set. Now, granted, Suicune's only form of recovery is rest, while Clefable gets both Moonlight and Soft Boiled. Suicune does have better stats in general, so it does even out. Now, regarding Clefable's move pool, you have some of the best move options for both defensive and sweeping Clefables, whether you want defensive with Wish, Protect, or Soft Boiled, or even Aromatherapy, but if you want to run more of a sweeping set, you have the options of Calm Mind and then Cosmic Power, and you can combine that with Stored Power and do a ton of damage after just a couple of setup turns. Now, speaking of its amazing move pool for the various sets it can run, Clefable is very versatile. It could be a specially defensive wall or it could be a sweeper, and that sweeper could be Stored Power or Calm Mind. Whether it's a sweeper or wall, you're going to have to look at the opponent's team to see what would fit best on it for that Clefable set. Now, Clefable could run a Life Orb set kind of like how an Alakazam could as opposed to its Sashed variant, but it's definitely not as popular as the special wall variant or the sweeper variant. But getting back to figuring out what kind of Clefable set your opponent is running, if you don't have a poke that is able to handle a sweeper Clefable, you're going to have a ton of trouble and not a good time attempting to crit it to take it out. Now that being said, there are a ton of steel types in OU that are able to handle Clefable, especially pokes such as B Sharp and Caesar. Now this calculation is for a max attack Adamant Life Orb Iron Head coming from a B Sharp onto a max HP max defense Clefable, meaning this is probably a Calm Mind variant, and still it has a 1 in 3 chance of being completely O-code from a B Sharp, although there's even the chance that it could be flinched. Now, if you're running a Jolly B Sharp or you're just running a Banded Caesar with Bullet Punch, Both of those have a guaranteed 2-hit KO on that Clefable. Now I'm using OU pokes as examples that can easily take out Clefable from full health. Well, my theory is that can be in UU, so what are some UU pokes that can set up against Clefable to be able to take it out? Well, there are examples such as Diggersby, Chandelure, Jirachi, and then a Meteor Mash from Metagross can definitely take out this fully physically defensive Clefable. So in conclusion, Clefable got a ton of buffs this gen that definitely boosted it to the rights of UU, but it can certainly be outclassed by the top OU threats and actually be able to do work in UU. So that's it for this week, guys. Please suggest more theories for me to do for next week, and thank you all for watching. Like, comment, sub, and until later, peace.